Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back after a small hiatus, and we're going to talk about Wan 2.1, and we're going to actually build this workflow right here, because why not, right? That's what we do on this channel. We show you how things work. And the greatest thing about this is that it allows us to go back to our good old buddy, the case sampler, how it all really started on this channel, or at least the tutorial started on this channel. This version of the one I'm going to show you is the ComfyUI native version. So it allows us to use stuff like this because it works directly with it. And that's what I like about it the most. That's why I've chosen this one. And it's very simple, straightforward to me. And I'll show you how it could be very simple and straightforward to you. Plus, we're going to just talk about how everything works in there too. That's the goal of this. And we're going to focus on the image to video workflow because I feel like people want to see that more than they just want to see the text to video one. So that's the one we're going to build on this today. And we're going to start just like we used to, just like the old fashioned, the model. Just take it out here, and it's already loaded up. Oh, by the way, to be able to utilize this, you need to upgrade ComfyUI to the latest version. If you don't do that and you're not up to date, you won't be able to have this option of utilizing it. So no matter what workflow somebody has out there, you got to do that. You have to update your ComfyUI to the latest version. And we're going to use, we're going to use that one, this specific one right here, this model. Also, when I load up all these things, I'll show you that I'll leave a link in the description to this, where you can find all the things you'll need, the models you'll need for this particular workflow. So don't worry about that. I'm going to show you where you get what you need to make this thing work. So, model, come out here. Greatest thing I like about this too is that we get our positive and negative prompts back. They come back, and I love this new updated actual AI because I can just change the color. Red means negative, and green means positive. I love the new workflows of this thing, right? So we're just going to do this right here for right now. This is not exactly how the workflow is going to look, but for the sake of, building it out really quickly, that's what we're going to do. And because I love to do this on the other side too. VAE decode. And then you get to here and you load your VAE. And it's going to be the Wan 2.1. And then come out here, regular clip loader. And this one's going to be this weird one called UMP. I'm going to use the scale version. UMText or UMT5XXL, blah, blah, blah. Part of this you're probably familiar with. Change this to Wan T5XXL. If you've seen any of the Flux tutorials, you might remember that we used a type of clip model that was called T5XXL. This one's called UMP T5XXL. It basically works the same way. The difference is that this one's like some universal multi-language thing, and I believe you can put Chinese characters in this thing, obviously, because that's where the model, like the whole thing, I think comes from. But this thing, maybe a bit bigger. I don't know, because it can understand multiple languages. I'm not quite sure about that. Maybe the other one could too. I just never tried because I don't really speak Mandarin. But the idea is that it works the same kind of way. But here's the real cool part about that is that since we're using something that is a large language model, just like we had in Flux, that means we can speak to it like in regular sentences, not a whole bunch of tags and stuff like that. But now we get the added bonus of having the negative prompt back, which we didn't have in the Flux dev models. So that's pretty freaking cool, right? All right. So I know I modified this workflow from the original thing that they have available just a little bit, not too much. One of the major things I changed was I wanted to take this and turn it into video combined because we want to output video. Like, isn't that what everybody really wants to see, right? That's what I wanted to see. And I think it's around 16 frames is the frame rate that this thing commonly works with. I'm going to change this to DDIM because I prefer it for this type of thing. Although you can use Euler. Actually, try out all of these if you have the time. And you can see how much, you have these different schedulers too. There's a lot of combinations. Let's go back to the case sampler. try out stuff. The Euler thing, the reason why I don't use it is because a lot of times it seems a lot more stiff when it comes to video, but it does maintain a little bit of quality. I think maybe a little bit better. I'm not quite sure. I have to really test that a little bit more. It's, you know, it's still kind of new for me. I haven't tested everything out, but fair enough. We'll keep moving forward, right? All right. So it's a little bit different from what we're trying to do. So here lies the thing that we're gonna have to change. Is we see it's latent image. Now we're not gonna put just a latent image down here. The main reason why is because we want it to be image to image, right? So that won't work. But they have created Wan image to video. Think of this as like a preprocessor that takes a bunch of information from the left side of our workflow, pre-processes it, and gets it ready for the actual processing in the case sampler. So we can just basically, let's disconnect this stuff right here, because this is going to run through. The negative goes through here, positive goes through here, VAE comes out like here, and the other one goes to your decode, so that doesn't change. Then take this, put it through here, right? Negative through the negative, matching colors. You've done this before, right? Okay, now we take this clip vision output. We're gonna need this clip vision encode, clip vision, which is gonna be the clip vision loader. We're gonna use this one called clip vision H. All right, then image, load image. Now this is basically the part that interprets how to like compute the objects and things inside of your image. That's what this clip vision thing is about. We also got to take this image out and put it as a start image because we wanted the video to start with that, right? So it goes two different ways. So this is basically the entire workflow. This is all that you need right here to make this thing work. You don't need anything else. Well, you need an image in here. Otherwise, it's going to give you an error. In other things that we've created, we don't put a prompt in there, right? It's like, what happens if you don't prompt it? Will it do anything? Well, maybe, maybe not. I actually haven't tried that on the video models yet. Well, at least not this one. I might want to try it just for the sake of that. I'm going to lower this to make it a little bit faster. I think 65, yeah. 65 is around that. It has these weird estimates. So this is the number of frames, by the way, it's going to produce. Batches, you can make more than one batch, right? This is the height and width. You know, try to make it match up with your image if you can. If not, again, you can always do this crop thing if it's like too big. But again, that's what it'll do. It'll crop off the image. I'm going to take this off right now. So this is a working workflow. It will work. Now, before we run it though, I just want to show you some things again about where to find this stuff. These locations are found within somewhere in the directories on your computer. Usually it'll be under ComfyUI // depending on if you're using Windows or Linux. I'm using Linux, so it might be a little bit different the way everything's laid out, or you know, the way the slashes work. But these specific folders are written this way on purpose. So like for me, as you can see, I have ComfyUI models, and then you'll see like I have diffusion models thing. I have one that's, where's the other ones? The other ones are named text encoders. There's one text encoder. There's one named VAE. There's another one up here is clip vision. That's where you're gonna put all these different models that you see. You see I have the clip vision H, or all that kind of stuff like that. So it shouldn't be too hard to figure out where to find this stuff. But this, I want to just take a look at this really quickly. These are all the different types. Now the one we're using right now for this tutorial is this one, Wan 2.1, 48, blah, blah, blah. I usually don't talk about installation stuff, but I'm going to talk about it just for the sake of this because you get caught up in this. Depending on how your system works, you may or may not be able to run all these. I'm not really sure about everybody's specs and who can run what, but the heavier stuff, of course, is the 720 stuff and the stuff that's not FP8 scaled or FP8 E4 M3 F blah 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 blah, right? So if you see this big number 14B, the simpler it looks, BF16, like these are the ones that are going to be like really intense on your systems, right? And keep in mind, I2V means image to video, and T2V means text to video. So everything we're utilizing is going to be from here and up in this tutorial. And again, specifically, I'm going to be using this one right here, the Wan 2.1 image to video 480p 14b FP8E4 you know, there you go. Anyways, so again, I will leave the link right here, this one, in the description of this video, so you can go find this stuff and get what you need for your system. Everything else should be pretty much straightforward. I'm still using this too as well, because you can even see this is only 6.74 gigabytes, so you can see it's a lighter version of it. And the VAE is the VAE. You got to get that. That's light anyways. Text encoder. Blah blah blah. I think I just looked at that. All right. I think I'm moving in circles now. All right. Anyways, back to the tutorial. So all those things are what's required. The clip vision, again, is what interprets what's in the image to let you know, or let it know like what it is it's looking at, so that way it can devise a way to animate it. This is basically your text encoder, and it's a large language model, so you can use regular speech. We also get back the ability to have negative prompts in there, so we can tell you what we don't want in it. This is a VAE. It's your variation encoder, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to remember what that A means at one point. One day I'm going to remember what that means again. And of course, you need your big model here that understands everything. Your I call it a pre-processor, because that's basically what it is. It takes into account this. When you're using the text to video, you don't need this, of course. It's going to be like a lot differently. Again, this idea that it takes all these different things into account. What you're telling it to do, what are the starting images, what it interprets through the clip vision of what it is looking at, then taking that through here, K-sampler, sampling it up, right? Processing the thing, and then decoding it down in here, which will give us a combined image. This is it. This is all you need to make it work. And let's see what happens with just the image, 0 prompt. I want to see what happens just as much as you do. But I'm going to have to pause this video to do this, because this thing is going to take up a massive amount of processing power to do. So that being said, let's get to it. Oop, I forgot one thing. I stopped it because I just remembered I wanted to output not as an image GIF. I wanted to output as a video. So just changing that to MP4. Everything else I'm going to keep exactly the same. That's the only thing I wanted to change up. But let's rerun it. All right, so we have an output, and well, it looks like something. It does look like, I didn't really describe what it is they're looking at, but it does look like a successful animation, despite the fact that I wasn't really descriptive about what it was. And it looks like it might be underwater. I don't know, but that's where the descriptions come into play. So I'm just going to do a little bit of prompting just to show you a little bit of things of how you can talk to a video versus talking to an image. A static camera shot of a pulsating, how do you say pulsate? Oh my god, I'm so terrible at spelling. I'm not gonna ask Google this time. I swear I'm not gonna ask Google. A static camera shot of a pulsating, oh no, okay, let's do this. A red pulsating aquatic creature being held by a underwater diver. Underwater. I'm just gonna say underwater again. I probably don't need to do that. But anyways, let's just run with that. So this way, the idea is that we're gonna get it to not move around so much, because you can see it, this one, just make this a little bit larger. You can see the camera just moves around a little bit more, and we're not really talking about anything else. And I'm not being too descriptive. I could be more descriptive to the divers themselves, and you know, a static camera shot of 2 divers underwater, blah 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 blah. But I'm going to show that that's not necessarily something you need to talk about so much to get what we wanted to do, because it'll still recognize them. As you can see, it still seemed to recognize at least that that's an arm, and maybe it's understanding these as bubbles. It seems like it might be understanding these bubbles, but who knows. I don't know if it understands this as an aquatic creature, but we're going to talk about it that way because we made a reference to it by it being red, and it's the only thing in the actual image that is red. So let's go with that. All right, back in the Flash. Okay, and there we have it. Now it's still a little bit of movement, but it is following the subject that we talked about. We talked about the red pulsating aquatic creature as the most important thing, and we did talk about it underwater. Now you can see the bubbles start to flow. You see they start to paying attention to this creature, and you see how now it has these little, phalanges or whatever that are wiggling around. Now, again, another way we could do this is talking about, again, I'm just want to do a few things on this. Changing the focal point. So the focal point right for this one was talking about the red pulsating aquatic creature. So let's do this. Let's talk about the divers first, right? That'll give us a better thing. So let's say 2 underwater divers, 1 diver. Oh, no, let's make this a period. End of a statement. 1 diver is a red pulsating aquatic creature being held. A static camera shot of 2 underwater divers. 1 diver is holding a red pulsating aquatic creature underwater. Let's go with that. So the idea of this is still going to be a static camera shot where it's not going to be a lot of movement, and the focal point will, instead of being on this, will be on the divers, because we talked about the divers first. We did say a little bit more description because we did say pulsating. So maybe we should talk about the divers anymore. A static camera shot of 2 underwater divers breathing with air bubbles released their breathing masks. All right, how about that? Yeah. A static camera shot of 2 underwater divers with air bubbles being released from their breathing masks. 1 diver is holding a red pulsating aquatic creature underwater. Let's go with that. Let's just go with that. I want to refine a little bit more, but let's just see how much more it'll focus on the other thing. Let's go. Okay, so we have our result. Now, you can see, as much as we said static, right? It almost seems more like a tracking shot. And I think the real reason, especially in this situation, you'll notice that unlike the last video, you see more of the divers, even though it didn't really do much with the bubbles thing. You'll see that it seems to want to keep them in the frame as well, but we did talk about the thing that they have in their hand. So it shows bubbles, but it doesn't show them coming out of the breathing apparatus or the mask. Did I say breathing mask? I did say breathing mask, right? Oh, I didn't spell it right. Oh crap. God, me and spelling. It would suck if that's actually the reason why I didn't do it. But in any case, you can see static shot, I believe, mostly just makes it like a focus on the characters, or static camera shot. But if it's not a situation where there would be much movement, I think it would really stay static, really, really, really well, because I've done it in other situations. But for the most part, usually static, maybe you could say still shot too. There's other things you can say as well, but for the most part, you can see it does try to listen. I'm going to run it again too, because I want to see if it actually does do that breathing thing I said before. Let's say this. Let's do this. Remaining still. And we already had the breathing mask thing. All right, so let's run it again. Let's see what we got. Okay, so another iteration. Well, we got more bubbles out of them. We didn't necessarily get it to come out of the mask, but it did recognize the need for bubbles. I guess my description is not the best, because they probably look more like snorkeling masks than breathing masks. But as you can see, it does stand still a little bit more, because I did say the creature remaining still. So that might have helped it freeze frame a little bit. But using keywords like that, I think, will help maintain the image in a certain way. I have used the word tracking before, so I know that word works, especially if you wanted to follow something through an actual motion as well. And also crash zoom crash zoom actually works. So like it'll just zoom in really quickly on like a face or something like that. Yeah, okay. The camera pans to a close-up of 2 underwater divers' faces with air bubbles being released from the transparent mask they wear on their faces underwater. I said the word faces again because I just want to make sure that they know that the transparent masks are on the faces. I can't think of another place. Wow, how did this happen? I think it's just random press. I think that sometimes, like, you know, sometimes this thing can interpret things in ways I won't necessarily imagine, so trying to double down on certain things to make sure. So we'll go with that and see what happens. Yep. All right, we're back, and it's pretty interesting. It's a whole lot of bubbles, more than I was expecting, but it does pan. It does show their faces. Adds a new character in there, but pretty good. So there's a lot of ways you can like really think about controlling the camera. I probably should have said a direction specifically. I didn't specify a direction of panning, but whatever. There's a lot of things you can do with this. You should definitely just test it out yourself, have fun, see what you can come up with. I'm just trying to show like a few rudimentary things. This thing right here, remember when you're changing the frame rate, you're also changing how fast it goes through this length of frames. So keep that in mind too. If you were to change this to like 24 frames per second, then just realize that you're gonna get a lot less seconds of footage, if that makes any sense. Because, you know, you're using up 24 frames pretty freaking fast. Probably you're gonna get less than, I know it's gonna be less than 3 seconds, I'm pretty sure. So make sure if you increase the frame rate, you can increase the length of this too. But also realize that just like with all of these video generators at this point in time, there's a limit to how long you can really make them without the morphing issue becoming a problem. And it's usually around 6 to 8 seconds before it really starts to happen. Sometimes it happens sooner than that. It also, like, you know, when stuff moves out of frame, for the most part, I feel like Wan tends to remember. But of course, when you're adding more and more stuff, more and more angles and stuff like that, you know, make sure you make your source images outside of this and that they can match up. That's what the lures are really for. I like using lures on the images as the keyframes more so than I like using lures within the video. But being that this setup is the way it is possible to put lures in this as well. But that's a different topic. I just wanted to really just bring out how to utilize the image to video workflow. I will release this just like every video I put on YouTube. If I put a tutorial on it, I will have a workflow for this on Patreon as well for free. So there's also more stuff, more in-depth stuff that I'm going to be putting on the video stuff, especially video generation and more creative things. I want to get into like more stuff about 3D animation and potentially like even like game building and stuff like that. Some really cool stuff that you could do with these AI generators that could help you build something that's a lot larger and a lot more ambitious than just stuff like this. But a lot of that, again, is a little bit more advanced topics. I try to keep everything on YouTube, the basic stuff. More in-depth stuff I'm going to put on Patreon. But again, if you want this workflow, it will be on Patreon for free. Link will be in the description of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope this was informative, and I hope you guys have fun with this because I'm having a whole lot of fun with this, and I'm so glad we have a really, really good open source video generator. And that, to me, really stands up against all the other closed source ones right now. I can't even imagine where this is going to be in the next few months, let alone by the end of this year.